What's up everybody? Simon here. In this episode, we're going to talk about the most exclusive, luxurious watches in the market today. A lot of people may think it's some expensive brands such as Richard Mille, maybe Patek, maybe some other brands out there. But we're going to talk about some of the biggest brands and what I think about all this as someone that's into luxury watches. You can check out some of my watch collection on the channel. I've also made videos about luxury watches such for their investment purposes and for my passions. I totally wanted to know what the biggest brands were, and when I did the research on it, I was rather surprised. So in this video, we're going to talk about it. Let's get into it. So when you think luxury watches, you obviously think about Rolex. And Rolex is one of those brands out there that's super expensive to get, to obtain. A lot of people that first make it, they go ahead and have Rolex as their first watch. I mean, usually people get themselves a day date, maybe a Daytona if they're lucky, maybe a GMT. But Rolex is kind of one of those brands that when you finally make it, maybe you're out of residency and your doctor pursuit, maybe you just became a lawyer and landed a first big case, etc. You buy a Rolex. That's kind of a celebration for a man, or a celebration in my mind, and I think a lot of you would agree with me. So Rolex is the biggest manufacturer out there and the most luxurious watch brand on their own. In addition to that, doing a little bit of research, what I found out about Rolex, it's owned by a trust. So that trust basically, from what I read, does not pay taxes. It's more of like a charitable trust, and this whole company runs on it, which is pretty incredible. Rolex also produces a lot of timepieces. That's why they're able to have such a high valuation. 9.7 billion in revenue in 2022 alone came with Rolex, and the second closest is not even close. Now, if you're guessing what's the second biggest brand in luxury watches, you're probably going, well, it may be Patek. Would you say it's Omega? Guess what it is? And I was surprised to learn that the second biggest watch brand that comes in is Cartier. Now, Cartier is not just a watch brand. I mean, they have the love bracelets, they have the Cartier Pasha watch, they have Cartier diamonds, they have necklaces. I mean, there's Panthers, the famous Cartier Panther, that's really well known. Cartier is one of those brands that is in the jewelry space, so it's not just a watch brand, but they come in the second biggest in revenue in this space with a 2022 revenue of $2.8 billion, okay? That's incredible. The Cartier Pasha watch, there's some other models in this lineup that are incredible, but I never truly appreciated them to be that top watch collector's brand, okay? I do think Cartier is beautiful. I do think it has its place in the market, but I was surprised to see that they're the second biggest. But notice the difference. Rolex at 9+ billion, Cartier at 2.8 billion. That's a big difference between the first and the second in line for the most luxurious brands. Third, I'm not surprised because it's also mass produced and it also has a pretty big following, is Omega. Omega is the third biggest luxury watch brand in the market, and they have some beautiful watches. They've been recently even improving their line with quite a few timepieces that they launched. Personally, I'm not a big Omega fan. I've never owned an Omega watch, but they have some great diver watches. They had a beautiful 007 watch. I mean, the list goes on and on. I do find them to be a little bit more affordable than Rolex in general. However, I was surprised to see them as number 3 in the watch brand for revenue sales. Now, they came in at $2.5 billion in 2022, far below 9.8 billion of Rolex and slightly below Cartier at 2.8 billion. The fourth biggest luxury watch brand, any guesses? Comment below. I thought it would be a much more known brand or a much more harder to get brand, but it is a hard to get brand actually. It's called Audemars Piguet. So AP came in 4th, which is surprising because Cartier and Omega beat out AP in sales, in annual sales in 2022. They came in at 2.1 billion. Now, AP watches are so nice. I mean, their Royal Oak line is one of my favorites, the Royal Oak Offshore, the Brick, and overall, I do think that they are gorgeous watches. Some of my favorites, one of these days I do want to get myself an AP Royal Oak. I know that time will come when I'm ready. However, I was surprised to see them being number 4 on the list. If you are as well, let me know below. Now, number 5 below AP is my favorite watch brand of all, Patek or Patek Philippe, depends how you say it, but Patek is the right way to say it. The Nautilus line, just such gorgeous craftsmanship on their bracelet. They're hard to get. Their values tend to go up all the time. Patek is a very small family owned, well, I shouldn't say they're very small, but they're a smaller family owned business. They pick their boutiques very carefully. Not everyone could be a distributor. Not everyone could buy it. They're super hard to get. Patek to me is one of those brands that I feel like totally is something that I would love to acquire in the future, particularly the 5980, the 5990. Patek came in at 1.8 billion in 2022. Now, the 6th biggest watch brand is RM, Richard Mille. Richard Mille to me is a great watch, and I think it's just maybe out of my league, and that's why I'm saying it, but I'm not a fan of that particular brand myself. I'm more of a Rolex Patek guy. I'm sure if you're a billionaire, you're wearing an RM. If you're a mega millionaire, you're wearing an RM. If you're like 20 years old with a lot of money, you're wearing an RM. And if you're 55 years old and you have a 30-year-old girlfriend, you're wearing an RM. Beautiful timepieces, just not my style. And that's the only thing I will say about it. They're colorful, they're gorgeous, they're on a different level. It looks like you're driving a Ferrari. They're expensive. I still would prefer a Patek over RM. But they came in 6th with 1.3 billion in sales. And it's very surprising because RM was nowhere on the map about 7 years ago until they just blew up, and they've become almost a big competitor of Patek. Now, number 7 is Longus or Longus. I can't even pronounce it. To be honest with you, I don't ever look at that watch brand. It sounds very mean. I just have not considered them as a brand that I personally love. Comment below if you have Longus. Let me know how to pronounce it in the comments below. But surprising, they came in at 1.2 billion in 2022 sales, so they're out there. In fact, they beat out another brand that I do have a watch with, IWC, which is a very reputable brand in my opinion. They have the Portuguese, the Galapagos, the diver watches. I mean, they're just a fantastic brand. But surprisingly, Longus beat them out. To me, it's not my favorite brand. Longus, IWC, I do think has some nice timepieces that caught my eye. And they came in at $1.2 billion for 2022, surpassing IWC, which came in at number 8 with about $908 million, which is not bad. Overall, so far, I'm very surprised on the list that Patek was so low, or number 5. I am surprised that Longus beat out IWC and is over $1 billion. I'm not surprised Rolex is up there with nearly a $10 billion revenue, which is insane because every time we see a Rolex store, it's empty. But I'm also surprised that Breitling came in number 9 at 860 million. Breitling is a watch that a lot of people also get as their first watch. Oftentimes you go on these forums and you see, which watch should I get, a Breitling or a Rolex? They're sometimes comparable in price, or even an Omega. But they came in number 9 and they surpassed Vacheron Constantin, which makes exquisite timepieces. And Vacheron had a revenue of 825 million in 2022. So there you have it, folks. Those are the top 10 luxury watch brands, with Cartier really coming in at number 2. Totally threw me off. Comment below if it threw you off as well. Check out some of my other videos. Recently, I've done some videos on Anthony Ferrer, the timepiece gentleman, including his arrest, as well as videos prior to his arrest. I haven't done too many watch reviews lately. I've been doing other types of videos and a podcast. So check out my podcast, The Ideal Hour, where we have some cool guests that also love watches and other things finance related. If you did like this video, give me a like. Let me know if you're surprised by any of these watch brands. Also, question for you guys. Do you prefer Rolex or Patek? Do you prefer Patek or Vacheron? Do you prefer RM over Patek? Comment below. Let me know, like, out of any of these brands, which are the top few that you would choose for yourself. And I'll catch you guys here in the next video.